Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs. Casey Porter and Austin Brubaker here as we bring you our show here on Friday or Wednesday night, in the big town. Wishful thinking there. Hey, Friday we were out of school, so that's going to be exciting. Hey, Austin, long time no talk. What's been going on with you, man?
Oh, it's good to see it, Casey. I had the show that I got to run on Monday night, which we had a good crowd on there. Very grateful for that. Good to be back with Casey tonight. Been a little bit of a crazy day for me today. So just a little bit of background on me. I work from home actually 4 days a week, and then there's one day when I have to go into the office, and which allows me to, I have my TV on as I'm doing my work, which my work kind of allows for it. My TV broke today. That was kind of a bummer, so I had to go and go to the Best Buy and get myself a new TV so I can turn on the Dodgers game tonight or turn on the baseball club game tonight. So I had to get that set up today. Coming up, because tomorrow I'll be driving up to Midland, Michigan, getting ready for the Great Lakes Loons for the start of their season. My cousin was in Dow Diamond tonight. Loons net roster has officially been announced, so there's a lot of good, exciting stuff. I'll be there Friday night, probably be standing outside the outfield gate in 40-degree weather for probably at least 2 hours waiting to get into the stadium. So it's a lot of good stuff happening right now, as well as with the Dodgers, which they've been winning. And you always like to see a winning baseball club out there. Dodgers are 6-2. Baseball club won yesterday. They're back to 500. A lot of good stuff happening, and there's more exciting stuff to come as we get into the minor league action that will be coming up pretty soon.
You know what is exciting is the great crowd that we have logging into Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Austin, what do I always say about our crowd?
Oh, it's not the biggest crowd, but we have the absolute best crowd, and that's not just something that we say. We genuinely believe that. You guys are amazing.
100%. We do absolutely have the best crowd out there, and there has been a lot to talk about. Transactions all in the last 4 days. Hey, not only did the Major League Club have a bullpen game last night, the AAA Oklahoma City Baseball Club, they started their home opening game last night with a bullpen game as well. So you spend $700 trillion in the offseason, and both your AAA club starts with a bullpen game at home, their home opener, and then basically after your first time through the order of your pitchers, you have a bullpen game again. So, hey, it has started. We have said all offseason the Dodgers would not go with a six-man rotation, and the reason is the early schedule gives you enough off days and some timing to where you can use that to give that 6th day of rest off to your pitchers. And then also the Dodgers can manipulate the IL. We've already seen them put several guys on the IL, Emmett Sheehan being the last one. And then also they can use the up-down train. We saw that with Kyle Hurt, and they can do all of that to create a quasi-six-man rotation by using those techniques. They've done it forever. This is not something new, and this is just something that the Dodgers do.
Yeah, this is something that the Dodgers do, and I know there was a lot of confusion because I think there were some reports shortly before I went on Monday that there was going to be a bullpen game, and it might be something where you might be concerned that bullpen games probably don't put you in the best position to win, meaning that you would rather have a Tyler Glasnow pitch than a Ryan Yarbrough, Michael Grove combo type pitch. But I think this is something that the Dodgers are doing in mind. And if this is the goal, I totally agree. Have the bullpen games, have some of the up-down train. If the goal is to try to keep your pitchers healthy enough to where they can sustain the full season and be healthy going into the postseason, that I think if that is the goal, trying to make sure these pitchers are as healthy as possible, then I'm fine with having some of these bullpen games pop up. Give Ryan Yarbrough a chance, give Michael Grove, or some of these other younger guys that can be up and give bulk type innings out of the bullpen. I'm totally fine with that type of environment because the Dodgers have to be thinking long term and about the health of their starting pitchers going into the postseason, because that is the thing that caused their downfall in the postseason last year.
I have absolutely no problems with it. For one, if you're going to keep Ryan Yarbrough, right? The number one value of keeping Ryan Yarbrough, which I am in favor of because I like the guy. For one, he's left-handed. For two, he's experienced. For three, the dude throws strikes, man. I mean, maybe that's the high school coach in me, but it's like You just sit there and you watch and you're like, okay, well, at the very least, we're not just going to give this game to the other team. They're at least going to have to do something to beat us, right? So just from that baseline, we talk about floors versus ceilings. That floor right there, the coaching part of me, it relaxes me. I'm like, okay, the dude's at least going to throw it in the strike zone, right? And he's left-handed, and I think also he's unique to what the Dodgers don't necessarily have on their roster. Hey, we talk about the cookie cutters that modern analytics can make. The three outcome type hitters, the pitchers that have the high riding four seams, the tumbling changeups, the left turning sliders. Ryan Yarbrough is not a cookie cutter, so he adds variety to this pitching staff. He adds experience. He adds serious strike throwing. So here's the deal, okay? When you're at, let's say, you're in a bullpen game, and I think a lot of people would say, like you said, hey, I would rather have Tyler Glasnow pitching than, I think that was your comment, than Ryan Yarbrough. I don't think anybody disagree with that, right? Mm-hmm. So you say, well, if your weakest starting pitcher is at least a guy that is left-handed, can move the ball, can locate, and will throw strikes, I can't explain to you how valuable that is if that is the baseline of your starting staff. Does that make sense to you, Austin?
Yeah, I think the biggest value that Ryan Yarbrough can provide right now is innings. If he can eat up some innings and save some of the innings that would go to some of these starting pitchers to keep them healthy so they can use those innings later in the postseason, try to keep this staff as healthy as possible. That is real value that Ryan Yarbrough can provide. And we've seen in the past Ryan Yarbrough can have good, solid, effective outings, and especially with this offense, they are able to make up whatever Ryan Yarbrough is able to output, even if he just gives up just a couple of runs, which seems to go with some of his track record that he provides. The offense can overcome that, and they can still win in a bullpen game type setting, and they can beat a very good starting pitcher in Logan Webb, who a lot of people have as a potential Cy Young level pitcher from the San Francisco Giants. They can beat him in a bullpen game. There's no game that the Dodgers can't win during the regular season. So do what you can to try to make sure that your team is as healthy as possible going into the postseason, which I know we are, 8 games into the regular season. We're already talking about that. But that is the mindset that this Dodgers team has and needs to have, because that is why you spend $1 billion+ is to win in the postseason.
And if you're not going to do these types of things now, hey, I would agree. Michael makes a good comment. Doing it this early is kind of insane, right? I mean, I mentioned it's the first time through. I mean, literally the second start of each of these guys' season, you're already having a bullpen game. That's insane. I'm not sure I've ever heard of that. No doubt about that. My point to that is there's no reason to have Ryan Yarbrough on this roster if you don't plan on doing this quite a bit. I know, Austin, in the offseason, you've mentioned at least a dozen times that Ryan Yarbrough was going to be a 6th starter for this club many, many different times. I don't think either one of us thought it would happen this fast, but this should come as no surprise.
Yeah, he's going to be that guy that helps fill in the gap where if they have, per se, a long road trip or a long road stand, he can be that guy that can fill in that gap to provide that bulk innings, perhaps in a bullpen type setting, bullpen type game, to make sure that your starters get the necessary rest to keep them healthy, especially because these guys either don't have long major league track records, talking about a guy like a Bobby Miller who just got called up to the major leagues last season, or have dealt with some injury concerns in the past, a la a Tyler Glasnow or a James Paxton, doing whatever you can to make sure your staff is as healthy as possible as the next wave of starting pitchers start to get healthy, like a Walker Buehler and eventually a Clayton Kershaw, hopefully during this season, maybe a Dustin May. All of these guys, as they get healthy, trying to keep as many of your top line starting pitchers healthy as possible is so critical right now.
I am so proud of Dodgers fans, and I am so excited that, for one, they have started actually seeing the positives in Michael Grove. Hey, man, I've mentioned it is an absolute roller coaster with this guy. He will go out for an inning, and you're going, damn, man, this guy looks great, right? And then he'll go out in the next inning, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my God. We saw it last night, right? Okay, So I have been preaching this the entire offseason. Michael Grove, A, needs to be in the bullpen, And B, he needs to be a one-inning bullpen reliever, just like everybody else is, just like Joe Kelly is, just like Ryan Brazier is, just like, for the most part, I know Evan Phillips got 4 outs last night, but for the most part, Evan Phillips is, for the most part, what Brusdar Gratterall is, what Daniel Hudson always has been. The 2-inning type deal, especially for a guy that doesn't have a defined role, I can't explain to you how stressful it is because, hey, it's easy, real easy to give up 1 run in 2 innings. And if you do that, your ERA is 4.5, right? So it's like it causes you to press a little bit. The 2-inning relief setup, I can't stand it because I just don't think it allows people to get relaxed. I think the 1-inning setup, you go out there, you throw your 12, 13, 14 best pitches. You go out there, you max out, you leave the mound, and you go, hell of a deal. This was a fun night, right? Michael Grove needs to be, and I'm not saying just Michael Grove, like every other reliever on this roster, he needs to be a bullpen guy and a 1-inning relief guy. And in that scenario, I think he could be valuable to this team. I think he could produce.
Yeah, there's certainly been times where Michael Grove has flashed essence of brilliance, has flashed so much and such good ability to pitch that you want to see that consistently. And we've seen through a lot of these outings when he's gone multiple innings, just like what we saw last night where he struggled as he gone to that multiple innings. And I think right now the Dodgers, and this could be an explanation of why, not saying that this is what the Dodgers should do, but an explanation of what the Dodgers could be doing. If you are going to have a 6-man rotation, or if you're going to have a quasi 6-man rotation like the Dodgers sometime implement, like what they have with the Ryan Yarbrough. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can.
Okay, perfect. So what I was going to say, Michael Grove has shown flashes of really good stuff, really good, brilliant stuff. And we've seen him do some amazing things in the past, but it hasn't been consistent. And I think this goes to the Dodgers' mindset as far as what they need to do. And this isn't a suggestion of what they should do. This is, and could be an explanation what the Dodgers are doing. If you're going to have a 6-man rotation, if you're going to, or a quasi 6-man rotation like the Dodgers have, you need to have guys that can provide multiple innings out of the bullpen. So then you are not using relievers every single day or every other day, making sure your bullpen pieces, even if they're just pitching 1 inning, get proper or necessary rest. So I think what the Dodgers have been trying to do with a Michael Grove, we can debate whether we believe that this is going to be the best for Michael Grove or get the most out of him, is trying to use Michael Grove as a similar to a Ryan Yarbrough type piece that can get multiple innings out of the bullpen, those chunk innings, to make sure that you're giving a lot of rest to some of your other pieces. Now, with Michael Grove, from what we've seen so far, there has been inconsistencies to some of the length of outings. There's been innings where he goes out there, pitches 1 inning. He's amazing. Last night, we saw him be really effective in that first inning. That second inning is when he started to run into some issues. So I think the Dodgers are, with Michael Grove, are going to have to decide, is he a bulk inning type pitcher? And are they going to need another bulk inning relief type pitcher to get them through some of these bullpen type games? So then they aren't using every single bullpen arm during a bullpen game and hoping Tyler Glasnow goes out there and pitches 7, 8 innings the next day. That can lead to some inconsistencies in success. But Michael Grove, I think, can and has shown during times that he is a major league pitcher. It is about finding that consistency right now, which is going to be so important for him.
Michael Grove, again, looked good last night. Hey, the Dodgers offense, we have mentioned it many different times. This is an offense that is relentless. I do think the bottom of this lineup, I've said it many different times, let me cut back over here, is going to be an offense where you can score all and up and down the lineup. I know James Outman, I think he has 2 hits on the year, but he has 5 balls that are 100-plus exit velos. Those balls are eventually going to drop. Let me take you back to last summer when he was struggling for the 2 months that he struggled of last summer from a statistical perspective. But if you go back about 2 to 3 weeks before he got out of that slump, if you will, James Outman was in a period of where he's at right now. He started having really good at bats. He started squaring the ball up, hitting the ball hard, and for like 2 weeks, he was having really good at bats, but not getting any hits, right? And then the hits came, and then everything started falling. And in the marathon, typically speaking, this game taketh away, it also give back, right? I mean, you hit these 100-mile-an-hour exit velo balls, and you're like, man, I am the most. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Well, over 6 months, typically speaking, you'll get those back as well. So James, I mean, we've already seen he had about a 53-mile-an-hour single to the left side and into a shifted infield for his first hit of the year. So James Outman is starting to put together good at bats, and with him, especially with him, the hits in that they always come after the good at bats start coming in. I like to see that he went the other way the other day, last night. He's not in the lineup again tonight. Kike Hernandez is going to be, I think, in center field, so it's going to have to wait till a time down the future. But I really like the way Gavin Lux is going to swing the bat. You got to realize he's still trying to get comfortable off of that knee. It's not as easy as you think trying to come off of an ACL. It's not physical. Everything is figured out physical. It's like that running back until they make that first cut on that knee, that one first violent cut, and they go, okay, well, I made it through it. I'm fine. You always have it in the back of your head. So you're trying to hit, you're trying to do this with also, hey, is my knee going to hold up in the back of your head? So I think we're still going through that process with Gavin Lux, but I think he's going to be a good offensive player. The Murderers are, let's think about this. The Dodgers have scored 5 runs every game, which is like the first time since like early 1900s, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact year, right? It's amazing what they're doing. And they're doing it with James Outman not hitting the ball the way that he's capable of, with Gavin Lux not hitting the ball the way he's capable of, and with Shohei Ohtani. That's a 30-year lineup that right now isn't hitting on all cylinders. This offense has been devastating to play against. We've already seen that with the Cardinals game when they got ahead. It looked like they're going to win. Here came the Dodgers. This offense is relentless. It's devastating to play against as the other team, and it's still not hitting on all of its cylinders. Not even close. That's how good this offense could be.
Yeah, this offense is going to really take off, especially once Shohei Ohtani is able to hit to the level or caliber that he is capable of, which I have no doubt. And I don't think anybody really has any doubt that he's going to be able to get back to at least somewhere near where he has been in the past. And if it's anywhere close to what he has been, which is a 160 WRC plus type hitter, he's going to be just fine. And speaking now to James Outman, I think last night was really encouraging. Even if just one of the batted balls fell into play, you saw the hard contact. And you look at some of the StatCast data, the 2 outs that he had to start the game, a expecting batting average of 670 and 660. Those are going to fall most of the time during the regular season. And then his actual hit had an expected batting average of over 700. That is good quality contact that James Outman has. And one stat that I like to look at early in the season right now, because we have such a small sample size and the results can be so inconsistent when you have such a small sample size, look at some of those expected numbers, especially expected weighted on-base average, expected WOBA, xWOBA. You can look at that through Baseball Savant. That is kind of the numbers that I look at because it looks at the quality of contact that an individual has. And I think that because if a player has good quality of contact, eventually the results are going to follow. I think you're going to see that with the James Outman. And I think that's a really good point that you made about a Gavin Lux who is coming back from a surgery, just trying to get comfortable. I think he's been fine, decent, and it's been something where we really haven't talked a whole lot about his defensive issues over the first couple of weeks during the regular season because it's been perfectly fine. That is something where it's becoming a little bit less of a concern. Now, if the offense follows that, I think you're having a really good, solid second baseman that is just going to help lengthen this lineup. So that is definitely part of it. And then right now, obviously, there came out news today. Jason Hayward is dealing with some back issues. He was just placed on the 15-day injured list. which is why I believe the Dodgers made the move to go out and get outfielder Taylor Trammell.
Yep. What do you think about that? Tell us what you think.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting move. I don't think it is depending on the length of injury for Jason Hayward, which I don't have any sort of indication as far as I'm aware. It is not a permanent long-term injury, but things change as far as the injuries with the back. We wish Jason Hayward nothing but the best, and we expect to see him in the lineup pretty soon. This seems to be the Dodgers move to be a temporary type solution for when Jason Hayward is on the injured list, because Taylor Trammell does not have any minor league options. So once Jason Hayward is back, it's very likely, unless Taylor Trammell is absolutely phenomenal, this will be the end of the line in his Dodgers career, most likely, at least from the indication that I have. Now, Taylor Trammell has been in the past a very prolific type of prospect, dating back to his time in the Cincinnati organization. I believe he spent a lot of time in Cincinnati, got traded to San Diego, or one of those got flipped, then came over to Seattle. There's been a lot of hype about Taylor Trammell, yet it hasn't yet translated to the major league level. Left-handed hitting outfielder. The offensive output at the major league level hasn't been quite there. 2022 was the season when he got closest to about league average with a 99 WRC plus. But with that comes with a lot of swing and miss, some walks that he has, and then maybe just a little bit of power. Really, it's all about with Taylor Trammell, because he has a lot of swing and miss. If he's able to provide some of that power. He does have some athleticism, and showing in the past, he's stolen 40 bases during a minor league season throughout the course of his career. So right now, I think this is, from the Dodgers' point of view, a temporary type solution, a guy that they were able to get to where once Jason Hayward is able to come back, they can potentially part ways with the Taylor Trammell. And if he gets claimed by another organization, they won't feel any sort of loss of depth. That's why I believe Taylor Trammell was picked up. So then there's questions as far as, okay, why didn't they go ahead and call up an Andy Pages? He's probably the most popular one. I think we've stated quite a bit that we don't want Andy Pages to be called up just to sit on the bench.
Yeah,
when Andy Pages is ready to be called up, we want him to be in the lineup. And I don't believe the guy that they're looking for right now, they're looking for a starting caliber player, because they can play a Chris Taylor and a Kike Hernandez. They need somebody.
They don't mind
that
sitting Taylor Trammell on the bench. They do mind sitting Andy Pages on the bench.
Yes, and Andy Pages, remember with him, he had one game in AAA last year before he got injured, and now he's, 4 games now on to, currently as we speak, I believe, on his 5th game in AAA Oklahoma City for the baseball club, or 6 games, something like that. So he doesn't have a lot of experience at the AAA level. So they decided to go with this. They also decided to go over over a Miguel Vargas. I don't know if that's to get Miguel Vargas more consistent at bats, which he has been swinging the bat pretty well during the early goings down in AAA Oklahoma City. We love to see that.
Hit a grand slam last night.
And last night. So those are two of the common names that gets brought up quite a bit. And then we talk a lot about some of the other guys that we've seen in spring training, like a Wardo, or especially a Drew Avens, who's been down in Oklahoma City for quite a while. I think that is, if you talk to Casey and I personally, that is the move that we would have preferred the Dodgers to take and reward a guy that's been in the system for quite a while. I think that would have been fair and just to Drew Avens. Drew Avens deserves an opportunity at some point, and I don't want his career wasted at the minor league level. So I'm not going to get into a whole lot of that. I want to fight for these guys, and we're going to continue to cover Drew Avens, and we hope that he has a place at some point, or at least an opportunity, even if it's very limited, to make it to the major league level at some point. The Dodgers right now are looking for players that they can use and potentially move on from and not feel the loss of depth in their organization. And right now it appeared that the Dodgers were not willing to lose the depth of a Drew Avens at the minor league level in the outfield depth. Whether we think it is the correct decision or not.
They did this to Hunter Fiducia last year too, whenever they went and got Austin Wins. And instead of bringing Hunter Fiducia up and then DFAing Hunter Fiducia and then putting him through waivers where every other organization could bid on him for trades or to pick him up or whatever, and then give him his chance from that perspective at a major league career, they've decided to hoard him as depth in their organization, and not only as depth in the organization, but with zero plans as to ever incorporating into your major league system. That's where Drew Avans is at right now. So they have no plan to ever incorporate Drew Avans in as a major league player whatsoever in this organization. They've made that very obviously clear. So then at that point, then why would you be worried about DFAing the guy? I mean, send the guy up, give him the 5 major league at bats that Trammell's probably going to get, right? And then DFA the guy, and then let everybody else have a chance to pick up Drew Avans. And let's just see if somebody else might want him and want to throw him on their major league roster. The Dodgers would lose Drew Avans at that point. Okay, they don't have any plans to ever make him a major leaguer anyways. So going and doing this with a Taylor Trammell, who's basically the exact same player anyways, is, I don't know, it's an interesting decision. It's one that if you're Drew Avans, you're very, very, very disappointed in. But like they always say, hey, man, you just got to continue to control what you can control and continue to move forward from that. So that was an interesting decision. We'll see how that works out. Hey, we have a great crowd logging in Austin here on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Showtime. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, Dodgers Daily. I think we need some Tanner Scott to replace Alex Vesia, especially since Miami is off to a horrendous start. If you want Tanner Scott, we've been saying this for a long time, you don't want Miami to be in contention, right?
Yeah, and right now it does not appear, at least to the start that they've gotten off to, which is what, 0-7 start down on the south side of Florida. That is good news for the Dodgers. It's not great news for the Marlins fans because I'm sure they're getting sick and tired of watching their team lose, which it sucks, and I'm sure it's great news for the Dodgers, though, and because they have potential needs that the Dodgers could have or potential things that they could target, including a Tanner Scott, who we've ID'd for quite a while, or some of their other left-handed pitchers, whether that be starters or whether that be relievers. Those two clubs seem to match up really well. So the worst that the Marlins do right now, which I don't always love rooting against organizations, but that would be good news for the Dodgers because that creates a potential match, especially with Tanner Scott entering his last year this year. He's going to be a free agent after this year, so it's very, very likely, unless things turn around for the Marlins, that they're going to be trading him, in which case that is a good trade piece for the Dodgers to target. We'll have to wait to see how Tanner Scott is doing this year, though, because relievers are incredibly volatile. It could be that Tanner Scott is not as great this season as he was in 2023.
No doubt about that. You mentioned it all the time, Austin. It's volatility, lots of volatility with relievers. Harley says, come on, Miami, cut a deal with L.A. Chris Fauborg, thank you so much for joining. Good evening, Casey and Austin. Michael Carrillo, this bullpen needs work. Yeah, I think when you get Evan Phillips, Brusdar Graterol, they're going to have Daniel Hudson if Blake Trinan ever got healthy. I think the pieces are there. Joe Kelly has been shaky. I wouldn't expect him to stay shaky. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. It's possible he could. I think the pieces are there. I just think that they need to start performing the way that they're capable of performing and then get healthy too.
Yeah, get healthy, perform to their capabilities, and we'll see how this bullpen is during the course of the season. We've already seen some shakeups to this bullpen. We've seen a Nabil Krismat come up, pitch a really good performance, then get designated for assignment. Then we've seen Dinelson Lamet get called up and pitch for the Dodgers. He's still a part of the club right now. We've seen Matt Gage, who was released from the organization, acquired from the trade with the Yankees and the Caleb Ferguson trade. We've seen them go out, and they've gotten a Nick Ramirez, who's now on the 40-man roster for the Dodgers. They're going to be changing a whole bunch of things up from this bullpen right now, partially because there's not a ton of health, and they're looking for different arms to use. This is part of the formula for the Dodgers, but this also is a position that very much is going to be available at the trade deadline. So whatever sort of things that aren't going wrong or aren't going right for this Dodgers bullpen, they will fix through the course of this season, and they will find and ID arms that will be good and help them during the postseason, whether that be guys coming back from injury or whether that be acquiring guys via trade.
Hey, Sean, good evening. I love it when Sean joins. Sean is such a wonderful part of this Dodgers Daily community. Sean says, hey, everybody, glad to catch the best show in baseball. Well, we're glad you're here, Sean. Gregory, good evening, everyone. Hello, Casey. And Austin, good evening back to yourself. So, hey, Daniel Berry Sports Highlight is checked in. Craig Osterberg, thank you so much for checking in, Craig. Justin Lamas is checked in. So we have a great crowd going on tonight. Chris Fauborg is down for a sweep. Justin Lamas says that Yarbrough provided more innings than Webb. Anyways, that was kind of a slap in the face if you're San Francisco, getting beat with your ace by a bullpen game. That's a slap in the face right there, is it not?
Yeah, that shows the might of this Dodgers team, that they can win against an ace-level pitcher, even with a bullpen-type game. Now, if you replay that game several different times, maybe the outing isn't exactly the same, because I think that's the caliber of pitcher that a Logan Webb is. He's very good, but in this instance, the Dodgers pulled out on top, and now they have an opportunity to go for a sweep, and you want every single win that you can possibly take, because every single one of these games counts in the 162. Never know what's going to happen through the course of the regular season, so you're hoping for a sweep, and I think it feels pretty good to do it against your arch rivals, the San Francisco Giants.
No doubt about that. That was pretty sweet. Hey, by the way, San Francisco Giants suck and the Dodgers are great. Life is good, right? Okay, I gig a little bit, but yeah, that's a lot of fun watching the Dodgers beat the Giants, no doubt about that. Joseph Gaeta asked, did the Dodgers send down Kyle Hurt to the minors? Yes, they optioned him. Excuse me. Yes, they optioned him to the minor leagues, which means he has to be down with AAA Oklahoma City for at least 10 days, which means he's taken off the 26, left on the 40, then he'll have to replace somebody on the 26 to come back. Michael Carrillo says Michael Grove is not a multi-inning reliever. Yeah, we've covered that. Hey, Robert Russell, thank you so much for joining. Could Ohtani be injured and is trying to work through it? Well, whenever you have the Tommy John type of injury, your muscles are different. People kind of, I think, sometimes overlook the fact that, yeah, you know, like I had a rotator cuff injury, and yeah, it affected me throwing the baseball, but it also affected me. And then, like, when I would pitch the next day, your shoulder would be tired and it would affect your bat speed. And like, nobody would ever think about that. But because your muscles in your shoulder, or because of Ohtani with all this rehab type stuff, it definitely could be an effect. I don't know that. He said that he's totally healthy, but yes, just because he is healthy enough to swing doesn't mean that he is 100% all the way back. You know, he's healthy enough to where he can't re-injure it, or he doesn't have any more risk of re-injuring it than he would in any other healthy scenario. But that doesn't mean also that it has the, you know, the length or the pliability that it might have here in 2 or 3 months. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Something that I think is often overlooked, as Shohei Ohtani is a two-way player and he's not pitching right now. And that's because he had Tommy John-like surgery over not too long ago, and that could affect some of his hitting ability. It could be also that he's dealing with a lot off of the field as well that is playing a little bit into that mental game. He could be pressing because he hasn't hit that first home run for the Dodgers yet, that sometimes you can press a little bit. He's going to be just fine. And I think the quality of contact is still very much there. I think the expected numbers still very much are there. The numbers will come eventually. We're just 8 games into the season. I am nowhere near ready to press any sort of panic button with Shohei Ohtani because of the caliber of player that he has been, because of the quality of contact that he has been showing so far, and because what I believe that he will be and what he's paid to be.
Yeah. And another thing, too, is when you're not pitching and the only thing you're doing is hitting, you feel like that's the only way you can help your team. That's a tougher transition than people think mentally, too. That's why a lot of people aren't just meant to be DHs, because just sitting in there, and especially Ohtani being such a perfectionist, you know, whenever if he's not hitting the way he wants to, he just sits there and stews about it like, damn, man, I got to get, that kind of deal. So that can be a different type of pressure that if you at least are getting to pitch and you're pitching well, you're at least getting to help your team in other ways. So.
Yeah, no, here's a little bit of an illustration just to show you Ohtani's level of quality of contact is still very much there. And this is what I've referenced quite a bit before already in the show. His weighted on base average, which if you think about weighted on base average, WOBA, think about it as on base percentage, where about 330-ish, 325-ish is league average. Right now, his WOBA is 282. His expected WOBA is 385, right align or maybe just slightly below some of his actual normal type level of expected weighted on base average. So he's hitting quality of contact wise right in line with a lot of his career norms. Eventually, a lot of this quality of contact is going to fall, and eventually some of these baseballs are going to go over the wall too.
Yeah, Ohtani is a special player. Hey, Here's an outside-the-box thought by Justin Lamas. I like it, too. I like outside-the-box type of stuff. By the way, this isn't relevant to the team. Bullpen games also allow Yarbrough to show teams he can be a reliable starter in free agency. He's a free agent after the season. So the Dodgers did not put Ryan Yarbrough on the playoff roster last year, right? Mm-hmm. Which means they very well might not do it again this year. So if you don't have plans, so if your plans for Ryan Yarbrough are for bullpen games where he can hit bulk innings, to be a versatile type guy, but that doesn't necessarily translate to something you want in the postseason, then showcase the guy all year in these bullpen games and show other teams he can be valuable. Trade him at the trade deadline because he's going to be a free agent. You're not going to use him in the postseason anyways, and then you go get somebody that fits a more pressing need for you. I love the way Justin's thinking. That's outside the box, isn't it?
And especially with a lot of these pitchers that will be coming back from injury, if you have good health in your pitchers and you have confidence that some of these guys, perhaps if you have your starting rotation filled out and a Walker Buehler slides in and maybe a Clayton Kershaw, perhaps a Gavin Stone can fill a bulk inning type of setting like a Ryan Yarbrough does, to where you don't need a Ryan Yarbrough in this type of role, to where you could potentially trade a Ryan Yarbrough. Now, I'm not expecting a huge return, but you could potentially get some additional depth or a pretty good, solid guy for your minor league system for a Ryan Yarbrough at the trade deadline. I think it's going to entirely depend, and it is far too far in the future and so unpredictable to predict as far as the health of the pitchers. If there's good pitching health and you anticipate that going forward, and especially if the roster just becomes very much crammed on the pitching side, you could see potentially that being a possibility, especially if the Dodgers have no need or no use for a Ryan Yarbrough. And there is other teams are always looking for pitching. If there's a good match, perhaps you can trade a Ryan Yarbrough. I love the way Justin Lamas is looking, because that shows you the depth of pitching and what that can provide in different alternative outcomes that you can have, especially if pitching health is good, which you absolutely hope for if you're the Dodgers.
So if he goes free agency, what is your return on him at that point?
Nothing.
0. And if you're not going to put him on the roster, then he becomes free agent. Right? So that outside the box scenario is not as crazy as it sounds whenever you actually think through it and think about some of the different possibilities there. Chris Fabor, good evening. Roy Estrada, good evening. Roy is predicting. Okay. Roy always brings his A game, right? You know what Roy's predicting tonight, Austin?
All right, what's he predicting?
Ohtani, first long ball of the season, baby. Let's go.
Okay,
if he hits it, I'm giving all the credit to Roy.
And you see some of those expected numbers, eventually that should come pretty soon. And so you're anticipating some of those numbers to adjust. I like the way Roy Estrada is thinking, and you'd love to see it. Shohei Ohtani home run and a sweep against the Giants to give the Dodgers a even better record to start this season. Let's go.
So you're an analytics guy. I know you like bullpen type games. I know you like the numbers games that the Dodgers really like to play with their roster. They'll have twice as many transactions as the next closest club in Major League or in baseball, period. When you talk about their AA, their AAA, the guys they pick up, the guys they release, the guys they DFA. It is a revolving door every year in this organization, more so than other organizations. And I know you like that, at least to a large extent, Austin, because from an analytics perspective, it's filling in gaps and filling in holes. It's solving mathematical equations as far as innings go, maps go, as far as how you're mapping out innings and stuff like that. So I know you do like all that, but is it kind of insane after the first round? I mean, isn't it kind of insane that it's this early, or what, from a analytics perspective, which you like, does that totally make sense to you?
Yeah,
which way do you go on that from an analytics guy?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because as far as how you're looking at it, you think, oh, they haven't thrown a lot of innings so far this year. That could be due to, man, they're coming back from spring training. They're coming back from Korea. You want to make sure their arms are in a consistent groove. You want to make sure their arms are healthy. I don't think it has to do any sort with the fatigue of these guys in their arms early in the season. I think they are starting and at a good place right now, building up their innings so far. I think it most has to do with the long run outlook for the Dodgers and making sure that they're acquiring and making sure they're preserving their arms, which might sound crazy doing it 7 games into the season. You have to look at every single game and try to map out it as best as you possibly can. And ultimately, the Dodgers view it, despite it being this early, that this is the best route to try to make sure that they're building up their pitchers to the right caliber, the right degree. I would have to look back to see in the past if this is something that the Dodgers have done or other organizations have done it this early as far as having a bullpen game. And it's possible that we've just haven't seen it or haven't been accustomed to it. So
which one would you bet on?
It seems a little bit new.
If I made you bet, which one would you bet on? Yes, it's happened this early before or not?
I can almost guarantee you the Tampa Bay Rays have done something like this before.
Okay, I got you.
Because the Rays are the team that kind of implemented that starter, or not the starter, the opener type role, and they are very innovative. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like this. But no, for the Dodgers, that is my biggest concern, is making sure that the starters and your star pitchers that you're supposed to be relying upon in the postseason are healthy and ready to go for the postseason.
All right, man. Hey, John Vicari is in the house.
Hey, there
Can't
we
wait
go.
to watch the Loons games. Can't wait to listen to his fantastic commentary, and I am so thankful for you joining. Hey, John, huge fan of yours. I listen to you all the time, no doubt about it. You and Brad do just, holy cow, there's my Dodgers dogs having a cow in the background. Can't wait to hear you guys talk about, holy smokes, the pitch being upstairs, being up in the attic, and touching the pillow at first base. And my Dodgers dogs are, hey, Vivi, why don't you come here so my Dodgers dogs won't throw such a large cow like that. But, yeah, hey, man, John Vicari, color analyst for the Great Lakes Loons, is in the house. Awesome, Austin.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And if you want to hear even more of John Vicari, not just for Great Lakes Loons, which Friday night, starting at 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific, the Great Lakes Loons will be going up against the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, which I know rosters got announced for the Great Lakes Loons today. We might be going over that later in the show. But if you want even a little bit more of John Vicari throughout the week, Sports Radio 100.9 FM, they have their own local radio station that John's a part of, the Loons local, the on-field host.
Is there an online app for it?
Yes, there's actually an online app that they have where you can download it. It's the Payoff on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. It goes all into primarily Michigan-based sports. So if you want some information about the Tigers, download the Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt app. And be sure to listen to the Payoff, or you can listen to the podcast of the Payoff. I listen to that quite a bit. But John Vicari, I'll be seeing him on Friday. Definitely a friend, Dodgers Daily, and I'll be on the road. He'll be traveling on the road. I'll be in Lansing next week for, I believe, 5 straight games, driving up and back and forth to Lansing. So it's going to be super fun.
Brad just got married, didn't he?
I actually don't know. I don't follow him on like Instagram and stuff, but I think he did at least in some point in the near future or recent past, I should say.
I'm 51 years old. When I say recently, that could be like as far back as 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When you get older, that's how it goes. Yeah, but hey, one thing I really like about the Loons, the broadcast that Brad and John bring, is just the energy, man. I mean, it's like it's massive energy. It's like, because minor leagues, man, I mean, it's 6 months. You can get in the doldrums, and the games count, but they're still not major league games and that kind of deal, right? Although the electricity at Dow Diamond is simply fantastic. So the energy they bring is awesome, for one. For two, you can tell they love the Great Lakes Loons. And for two, they love baseball. They're baseball people. Like Vince Scully, one thing that made him so great, Joe Garagiola, those type of guys, is that they didn't just love the Dodgers or whoever it was that they were broadcasting for. They loved baseball. And that really comes through, I think, whenever I watch the Loons games.
Go back and watch the playoff series for the Great Lakes Loons last year, especially towards the end of the games, the end of Game 2 when Hobbsy was striking out, and the end of Game 3 against the Tin Caps when Jack Dreyer came into the ball game and got some outs when the Loons scored some runs. And even that series during the Colonels, go back and listen to those games, watch some of those games. You won't just see enthusiasm on the field. That is reflected in the broadcast booth, and they do an absolutely tremendous job. And they're also incredible people, too, so incredibly nice. So if you're in the Michigan area, loons.com, go buy your Loons tickets. Or if you are a little bit closer, Indiana, I know we have somebody in Fort Wayne. They'll be coming to Fort Wayne coming up in a couple weeks. I'll be there as well. Go ahead and cheer on and support the Great Lakes Loons this season. I want to win a Midwest League championship this year. We've gotten close. We were within one run last year. The roster is announced. There's some great players on this roster. I can't wait. Friday night, 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific. The Loons are back. Just like the Dodgers are back. This is the stuff I get excited about.
No doubt about that. So, hey, thank you so much for joining, John. I hope you make this, as for however much time you have, as many times as you possibly can, hop on to Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, and let's have a good time. Hey, King Yellow Man is in the house. I love it when King Yellow Man joins. Justin Lamas had to go, but made a really good point before he left. Fortunately for us, the longest stretch of consecutive games is 13. This is a point that I've been bringing up for quite a bit. The Dodgers' schedule is going to allow them, hey, the Dodgers, more than any other organization in baseball, allow their pitchers 6 days rest without using a 6-day rotation. So how do they do it? Well, they look at the schedule for one, they manipulate the IL, and then they use the up-down train. So this is a great point. We've been talking about this all off season, about how the schedule is going to work towards giving these guys 6 days off.
Yeah, no, the Dodgers are going to do whatever they can to make sure that they take advantage of whatever rules that they can to make sure that their prime type players are healthy and ready to go. And that means some of these guys, some of these younger guys, or some of these veteran type guys, they might bring them in, designate guys for assignment, even if it's just after one game, like we saw with the Nabil Chrismat. Or they'll take some of these younger guys, whether or not it is good for their long-term development, which we've talked about it quite a bit before in the past. We think it might be good for the Dodgers mapping out innings, not good for the individual player for their long-term health. But they are going to take advantage of the rules that Major League Baseball has, where you can call up guys and send guys down as needed throughout the course. Again, with some limitations, like a Kyle Hurt, who has to stay down in Oklahoma City for, I believe for pitchers, it's 15 days. For position players, it's 10 days. He has to stay down in Oklahoma City for 15 days after he gets sent down. But the innings that he provided were innings that the Dodgers needed and mapped out and kept some of their other pitchers healthy. They're going to do and take advantage of whatever rules that they have to make sure that their pitchers are rested and ready to go throughout the regular season. And they're going to take advantage of whatever Major League rules can provide and kind of sneak through that cracks through the course of the regular season. And with the Dodgers organization, with the level of talent that they have, they can get away with that too because of their talent. They're going to win a lot of games.
Hey, Gregory, thank you so much for bringing this up. Please smash that like button if you have not done so. Hit that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily and Dodgers Dawgs every Wednesday and maybe Fridays. We're not exactly sure. Wednesdays and Mondays are our guaranteed live show days. Austin, wonderful job on Monday. The rest of them Sunday evenings, last Sunday evening we didn't go on because obviously the Dodgers were playing, but typically speaking, if they play in the afternoon, we'll probably try to do a live show on Sunday evening, but guaranteed Mondays and Wednesdays. And then we hope you've enjoyed the hot takes. We had the hot take on Diego Cartaya on Monday. I do have a high velo segment coming out tomorrow. I've already actually posted that and armed it to YouTube on Landon Knack, and I'm super excited about that. And I think this weekend, the launch angle, Austin and I will throw some ideas together, but I'm pretty sure the launch angle is going to be on Andre Lipsius. But we'll see how the rest of this action goes. But Andre Lipsius is a guy that Dodgers fans need to know the name because he's an extremely good athlete. He's obviously a very good offensive player, and it's very obvious how he has been prioritized that the Dodgers think. You can always tell with the Dodgers organization, the guys that they prioritize, right? It's not real hard to figure out. He is one this organization has prioritized. He had a huge weekend last weekend in Tacoma. I'm excited. I've got my media passes. Just haven't had a chance to get to Oklahoma City yet. I will talk to the Tulsa people today. Got my media passes for them. So getting all excited about that. So hopefully I have a chance to talk to him and Trey Sweeney and all the AAA boys up there. Braden Fisher, by the way, congratulations to you, young man, getting a victory last night in your first AAA game. That is awesome. And another cool thing about Braden Fisher is the further south that he goes, which Oklahoma City is a little bit south of Tulsa, but it's a lot further west. It's closer for his family to get to see him because they're from the Houston area. Oklahoma City is 8 hours away. His family actually sold their house. They have a big old sweet RV that they travel the country in, so they get to follow Braden around. But it's always nice when you get to the closer places like Frisco. Obviously, anywhere in Texas. I know they went to watch the Corpus Christi series last year. Oklahoma City's only 8 hours away from where he's from. That's not that far when you're talking about the sweet RV that they get to drive in. So that was super fun for them and to watch him in the beautiful Bricktown ballpark. So Andre Lipsius, I think it's either going to be him or Braden Fisher or maybe both. I haven't made my mind up, but super excited about that. So tune in tomorrow for the Landon Knack feature. Hey, we have a great crowd that has logged in. John, there's John Vicari right there. And hey, Justin says, didn't Brubaker get traded to the Yankees? Okay, Austin. So I think we're caught up on all of. Actually, Justin Lamas, Yarbrough could get 4 years for $44 million, like Hicks did in San Francisco. What do you think about that?
Let's see, Yarbrough. I would say probably not, just because Jordan Hicks. I think Jordan Hicks, with some of the velo that he has shown in the bullpen in the past, I think you could always rely on him and being a good, solid late inning reliever. Obviously, the Giants went with a little bit of a different route and decided to convert him into a starting pitcher type of role, which was unique and something that was totally unexpected for the San Francisco Giants to turn him into that starting pitcher type role. I think he has a little bit more upside than what Ryan Yarbrough provides. I think Ryan Yarbrough provides some very important value for a club, but I think the upside is what teams are going to be looking for. The upside is what teams are going to be paying for. And I think it's likely that Ryan Yarbrough probably won't get the exact same, especially length of deal that a Jordan that he got from the San Francisco Giants. So I want to anticipate it. And then funnily enough, the other comments, there is a Major League Baseball player, pitcher for the Yankees, JT Brubaker. He got traded to the Yankees. So don't worry. I have not been traded to Yankees Daily. I don't even know. I don't think that's such a thing. Nor do I have any sort of hope to be traded to Yankees Daily anytime soon. We'll cover Yorbit Vivas. We'll cover Clayton Beater, who did have an outing in the major leagues for the New York Yankees. So congratulations to him and some of the other guys over there. But
how'd it go for him? Did it go good? I didn't follow.
From what I tell, I believe so.
Yeah.
I can't remember a whole lot. I think he got sent back down to AAA, part of their up-down train that they're taking advantage of. But there's some guys over there that I like. I'm not a big fan of the Yankees organization, though, so I don't think that is of any concern going forward. So, no, and that's really cool that you had mentioned that, especially about a guy like an Andre Lipsius, who we've talked a little bit about in the past. Once the Dodgers acquired him, he has an important story to tell and an important journey that, even though we have not had the chance to see it quite as up close and personal as we've gotten to see with a lot of these other guys, he's fighting for his major league career as well. Got a little bit of case in the water for the Detroit Tigers. He's got a lot of good skill set. He's got some really good plate discipline type skills. And so I think the story of Andre Lipsius, especially when he's in AAA and when he had the 2 home run game early in the season for the Oklahoma City Baseball Club, I think it is important to tell that story. And speaking of Braden Fisher, I'm sure Fish is appreciating it that he doesn't have to spend this beginning of the season in the middle of Michigan where it's going to be 30 to 40 degrees out, maybe when he's pitching out there, as he had to do last season. And now he gets to do it closer to his family. That's super cool. Be on the lookout for those, as well as some of the podcasts that we will post throughout the week, recapping some of the action from the Dodgers and the minor league level. You saw that in the video that we posted. What was it? Monday? I believe it's a video we posted Monday morning. Yeah, that was a fun video talking over the Dodgers action over the weekend, as well as the Oklahoma City Baseball Club and their action. Be on the lookout for so many good, amazing stuff. I guess that's kind of tooting our own horn a little bit, but there's some content that we appreciate and we put a lot of work into, and we hope that you guys are able to enjoy that. But we'll be sure to keep up with the live streams as much as we can. We'll also be busy too, because with all of this knowledge, you have to be surrounded by the team, and we're going to be surrounding ourselves by the team and going to a lot of these games. Casey with the media passes, me traveling along and sitting right next to the dugout with the Loons.
John can't hook you up?
Oh, I'm sure he probably could, and if I stretched, I could probably make something happen. But we'll have to wait and see. I've got other people that I gotta take care of too, with Damino and Cameron, which I know Cameron was there in Dow Diamond tonight, so he was talking to some of the people of the Loons, including clubhouse manager Johnny Dukes, chicken and shrimp, baby. Nice.
You're looking at Braden Fisher here, who got his first win for AAA Oklahoma City Baseball Club last night. That's I'm not going to memorize that or train myself to think that, because it's not going to stay that long enough for me to give that amount of effort. Let's hope that it goes back to the 89ers. 89ers, the Oklahoma City 89ers. That's what the name was from 1962 all the way until they built Bricktown Ballpark in 1997. It switched in 98 to the Red Hawks. Then it became the Dodgers in 2015, whenever obviously we became the affiliates of the Dodgers. So for an entire generation like me that was born anywhere from the 60s through the 90s, the only thing they knew for minor league baseball was dot races. They knew that Dippin' Dots just got invented, and all of a sudden we had these little helmets full of dots that were ice cream that were like unbelievably good. Like I can remember the first time I saw them and I was like, what the hell is that? And they're like, that's ice cream. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I think it was like Neapolitan or something. And it was like really freaking good, right? So remember dot races, the Marlboro Man. We remember Dippin' Dots, the big hill down left field at the State Fairgrounds in Oklahoma City, and 89ers. We went to an 89ers game. Did you go to the 89? Have you been to an 89ers game? The city of Oklahoma City would totally rally behind that name. I'm telling you, man, it would draw crowds, just the name itself, because people would be going to, hey, we love the minor leagues, Austin, but most people don't like the minor leagues like we do, right? So most people go to games like on Friday and Saturday in the minor league setting just for something to do. Like it's in the middle of summer. You're going to take your kid. You're going to take your wife. You're going to have a good family outing, right? And I would say probably 80% of the people that are there, now not in Tulsa. Tulsa's a little bit more rabid. But like in Oklahoma City, they don't even really even know who the affiliate is. Don't care. Right now, there are some people that are going to those games because there's Dodgers fans. But in a minor league setting, that's very. I've been to probably 30 different minor league ballparks, and I can tell you, in every single one of them, 80% of the people there did not even know who the affiliate of the teams they were.
Yeah.
Like you go to Wichita, and they're like, "Hey, do you know who the parent club is? Royals? No, it's Minnesota." So what I'm trying to say is Oklahoma City people like Tulsa, they relate to drillers, right? So let's say someday Great Lakes no longer is the Dodgers, right? Then they need to keep the name Loons. It doesn't matter who the affiliates are. They're the Great Lakes Loons. People be like you, Austin, you're going to be a Great Lakes Loons fan, and they're going to wear their Loon stuff and not even care who the affiliate's at. That's how Oklahoma City people believe in the 89ers. I probably bored everybody with that diatribe about the AAA club, but it is what it is. I got it off my chest, right? And we have a great crowd going, so, hey, it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just about to mention something. You had mentioned about something, just kind of reflecting a little bit on the past. With my generation, with the technology that we have, our attention span is like 7 seconds. So I'm pretty sure most of the people now can only remember Oklahoma City as the baseball club. So the Oklahoma City Baseball Club, as far as the history, as far as I'm concerned, that is their history. That is their heritage. And they should just stick with the baseball club for the rest of the time. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think they should be the 89ers. I think that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of stuff, exciting stuff that they're going through right now. And speaking of the Loons right now, they just announced their roster today, which is awesome. They got some really cool, exciting names on their roster this year.
Yep. All right, man. Hey, the Dodgers have another big game tonight going for the sweep against San Francisco, obviously, and had a good weekend against St. Louis. They've lost 2 games all year so far. What things have you been impressed with? What things have kind of gone the way you thought they would? What things have maybe been a concern to you that hasn't stuck out yet because the offense has been so good?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. One, as far as the things that have stood out or been so good, how can we not talk enough about how good of a start Mookie Betts has gotten off to? He has been absolutely phenomenal. Just the level of production that he has had, the home runs, the heart that he seems to be playing with right now, the plate discipline, having twice or just almost twice as many walks as he has strikeouts so far, and just a hard hit contact. He's looking like an MVP type player so far. Now, will this level of production continue? Not to this extreme, at least if baseball history is any witness to what we will see in the future, but he has been absolutely phenomenal and been really an electrifying player at the start and making up for the production of him and Shohei Ohtani. It's been unreal to see how good he has been, and just this lineup has really had a lot of good features to it, just up and down. There's a lot of heart to this team, as we talked about, and as we saw in the St. Louis series on that Sunday when Max Muncy hit that home run. We just saw the cool heart enthusiasm. That was really great to see. So I'm liking a lot of that aspect of this Dodgers team. There's been times when we've seen a little bit of shaky from the pitching. I loved what Yamamoto was able to do during the start in the Cardinals and really show that he can bounce back. That's something that the Dodgers are going to have to continue with, working with him to try to get him to that level of pitcher that he is going to be for this Dodgers club and that the Dodgers paid him to be. It's not going to be an immediate flip of the switch transition to be that type of pitcher, but it will come eventually. So be patient with him. And then with the Dodgers for the rest of their club, there's not really a whole lot of alarm bells. You can mention perhaps some of the bottom of the order although I think we've addressed that a little bit with some of those concerns. I think some of that is going to correct itself and become a lot better than what it has. You could mention some of the swing and miss, which you expect from a guy like a Teoscar Hernandez and a Max Muncy. I don't think it'll be as extreme as it has been. I think some of those strikeout rates will come down. You could mention the bullpen being a little bit shaky at times, or at least there's been some outings where the bullpen has struggled. Overall, this season to this point is going really well, I think, for the Dodgers. They're winning a lot. I think some of the health might be concerning, especially some of the bullpen pieces and now Jason Hayward. Overall, though, you got to be happy with where this Dodgers club is right now.
What do we know about Kyle Harrison and Tyler Glasnow, the matchup tonight? Tell us what you know about tonight's matchup.
Yeah, so obviously Tyler Glasnow, great pitcher, and we got to see that during his outings for the Dodgers. I think he is the ace-level pitcher that the Dodgers were looking for. It is for Tyler Glasnow. He's going to get a lot of swing and miss stuff. It's going to be for him, and we've seen some of this in the past. The reason why a lot of some of his expected numbers are below some of his actual numbers is there are times when he can give up some hard contact. There's times when he can give up some home runs. I think avoiding some of that hard contact, avoiding some of those home runs from guys like a Jorge Soler who hit a home run, or a Matt Chapman. I think avoiding some of that is going to be important, and then getting some of those swings and misses for a Tyler Glasnow tonight. And then Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher for the Giants, really highly thought of, young, talented pitcher for the Giants. Hasn't been around for too long, just pitched a little bit in 2023 during his age 21 season, now entering his age 22 season. With a Kyle Harrison, I'm not overly familiar with him, so I'm not going to pretend like I know as much as I do. Looks like he has a couple pitch mix with his four seam, his slurve, and changeup. I'd be curious, and I'd have to do a quick search to see if he has pitched against the Dodgers in the past. Kyle Harrison, from all the reports, has a ton of talent out of the left side of the rotation, and especially with this Dodgers lineup that is lefty dependent. That's why they made the switch. That's why James Outman isn't in the starting lineup tonight. That's why you're seeing the Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, and Miggy Rojas at the bottom of the order, is to add in some of those right-handed hitters into this lineup to try to go ahead and play that matchup game against the left-handed Kyle Harrison, who has a lot of talent. And I think this is something that the Dodgers are going to deal with throughout the course of the season. They're going to face a lot of left-handed pitchers, particularly out of the bullpen, and now that increases even more once they get from the starting pitcher side. Kyle Harrison has a lot of talent. It is about realizing some of that potential and getting some of those consistent innings, which he's going to get consistent innings for the San Francisco Giants over the course of the season. And I think if he does that, I think he can establish himself as a major league regular.
Get ready to unload, because he throws a lot of fastballs, and the Dodgers hit a lot of fastballs, so that sets up well for them. I think the Dodgers will be aggressive on hitting that fastball, because his four seam is only in the 93, 94 range, but yet he throws it almost 75% of the time, which is a lot. And then he throws that changeup about 15% of the time. So I think the Dodgers, it would behoove them just to look dead red all night long, spit on the changeup, spit on that slur. You know, that slurve is that back foot deal that he throws to lefties. You used to call it a sweeping slider, right? It sweeps away from lefties, and then it goes to the back foot of righties. So that's going to be his put away pitch. He's going to throw some changeups to try to get a little bit of tumble, but the Dodgers need to stay away from those pitches and just attack that four seam fastball that's going to come in. It's going to sit around 93. I mean, this is a hittable guy for the Dodgers.
And I will say, with Kyle Harrison, just doing some of the research right now, he has pitched twice against the Dodgers during the end of the regular season last year on September 21st and on October 1st. actually has had some good success as far as the results against the Dodgers in the past. During his outing on September 21st, went 5 1/3 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs, didn't strike out a lot of Dodgers hitters. And then on October 1st, 5 innings scoreless, 4 strikeouts during that appearance. So overall, he has a 1.74 ERA against the Dodgers. However, there is reason to believe that that will change as his FIP and expected FIP are 5.09 and 7.20 against the Dodgers, respectively. Again, small sample size, 10 innings, but that leaves credence to believe that even though he has had past success against the Dodgers can take advantage of him, especially if he's not striking out a lot of Dodgers. Some of that batted ball luck that he had in the past against the Dodgers could turn in the Dodgers' favor.
And you know what else could turn in the Dodgers' favor? When he faced them, the Dodgers didn't have Shohei Ohtani. They didn't have Teoscar Hernandez. And so that makes your 2 guys in the middle of a 9-person lineup can make a huge difference. Also, Freddie Freeman wasn't hitting the way that he's hitting right now. Neither was Mookie Betts. You know, Mookie Betts had that amazing August and then didn't hit very well after that. So he's going to best laid plans in baseball, they never work out, right? You always got to have a plan B. Coach Holt always says that. So who knows what's actually going to happen, but he's never faced this Dodgers lineup. It's going to be 1,000% better lineup than what he faced last year. So, I think this is a game where the Dodgers could have a lot of offensive success, but again, hitting the baseball is the hardest thing in sport to do. So just because you say the matchup sets up well for you to do something doesn't mean at all that's what's going to happen.
Oh, absolutely not. And especially if you looked at the game yesterday, you would have, if you were going into that game, if you were the Giants, been like, okay, this is the game that we can take from the Dodgers and at least take 1 out of 3 in Dodger Stadium. Where tonight, I think the Dodgers come into this game feeling pretty confident and ready to go for that sweep. Just like yesterday could have been a game where you could have said, okay, maybe the Dodgers, because it's a bullpen game, might be at a disadvantage. They took that game. The Giants, even though you're looking at this, Dodgers ace is on the mound. Looks like the Dodgers have the advantage. Could tip in the Giants' way. That's the unpredictable nature of baseball, and that's what keeps us watching. Because if it wasn't unpredictable, you would be able to say what's going to happen, and it wouldn't be as entertaining as it is. And so this is going to be a good and worthwhile game to watch, but also a game that presents some good matchup ability with the star-studded lineup that this Dodgers team has, and with the Dodgers ace on the mound with good, solid rest because he got an extra day rest with the bullpen game yesterday.
The one thing that can make baseball, we see this in fast pitch softball a lot, it's at the high school level. The one thing that can actually make baseball fairly predictable is if you have a pitcher that can dominate. If Tyler Glasnow goes out there and does what Tyler Glasnow is capable of doing, and he's in the strike zone and he's hitting the parts of the strike zone that stay away from the long ball, he is the guy that can make everything. That's what an ace is supposed to do. An ace is supposed to be able to make your team predictable because every 5 days that he goes out there, all you need to do is score 4 or 5 runs. You're going to win the game, right? That's the one part of it. Baseball is very, very, very unpredictable. But again, that's why you have aces to make it at least more predictable. And I think Tyler Glasnow has done that for the Dodgers.
That is exactly right, and that's what the star level players do. They provide a little more of a sense of reliability to your club. You can rely on them and predict a lot more success than not. And I think Tyler Glasnow has as good of a chance tonight to do some really good, amazing things and put the Dodgers in a position to where they would be 7-2 going into the season early. And especially with the way that Arizona is playing right now, they're playing some really good baseball. Got to make sure that you are keeping up, even if it is this early in the season. Every single game counts and every single win counts in the end. In the 162 game regular season, you want to put your club in the best possible position that they can be. And you want to win every single game. That not just the competitive nature, but that's also the sense of the long game of the postseason as well.
To me, I like what Arizona did better than San Francisco. Arizona, you know how they built their team. They brought up Corbin Carroll type guys, Chris Fott. They went through the system and they developed some really, really, really great young players that are totally fearless. It seems to me like San Francisco has kind of gone the retread route in the sense that we're going to get the older veterans that have been in. And to me, the route that Arizona, first of all, it brings more electricity to your team, and I think it brings you an overall higher level of talent. I think when you're stuck in he has to have major league experience, I think you cap actually the talent level. I want the 9 most talented players I can get on the field to get the most amount of at-bats, and then from there let them get the experience and build on that. It just so happened that Arizona actually got probably a year or two ahead of schedule last year, but I like the way that they built their roster better.
They're a fun, dynamic club that has come up, a lot of them together. They've added some supplemental pieces. They've added a Eugenio Suarez. They've added a Jock Peterson.
But would you agree their core was, hey, let's build this from the ground up with our prospects?
That is absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah, and then orbit all the veterans around that?
Yes, and I think Corbin Carroll is such a great player. He's a superstar level type impact player that transformed that Arizona Diamondbacks team. And with the aggressive nature that they play with, I think they could take advantage of some of the new rules that have been implemented in the game. And now that they are coming off a trip to the World Series, which you got to respect the Arizona Diamondbacks now because they are the reigning National League champions. Everybody in the National League is looking up at what they did. You have to put some respect on them, and I think they're starting to build a lot of confidence right now. It's be interesting to see their kind of rebound season after they made the World Series. Sometimes teams that make the World Series have a little bit of a disappointing or a little bit of a down year the following year. I think with Arizona's youth and a lot of the talent that they have, I'm not anticipating that bounce back to reality. I think the reality is Arizona is here to stay and is going to be in competition with the Dodgers going forward.
They're not as good as the Dodgers. I mean, I don't think anybody's as good as the Dodgers, but they're not going away is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yeah, so that is something that the Dodgers are going to have to try to win as many games as they can because they are going to be in competition with the Arizona Diamondbacks, which let's not forget, the Arizona Diamondbacks swept the Dodgers in the playoffs last year. That's something that the Dodgers fans need to remember because they need to fix the mistakes that they made during that postseason and try to find a way to beat that team going forward.
You mentioned the WOBA of Shohei Ohtani and how some of the weighted on-base average and all that kind of stuff isn't all that different from how he normally is. Let me bring you this stat, though. 69.2% pull rate. Craig Osterberg, this was a great find, Craig. Craig bringing his A game tonight. This was a great find, Craig. 69.2% pull rate. Now, anything over 40% is high. Like 40, anything over 50% is ridiculously high, right? So you're talking close to 30% higher than what you would actually want it to be. So if you wanted to look at reasons why, of course, the big part of the field is the middle of the field. Coach Holt mentioned this. Marty Lees, who's the head coach at Stillwater High School, who was the head coach at Washington State University, who is an assistant coach at Oklahoma State University. And I preach this all the time. Dylan Ashotkin will tell you this. All the hits are in the middle of the field because that's the biggest part of the field. So if you go gap to gap, left center to right center, Coach Holt said right center to left center, however you want to do it, right? That is the biggest part of the field, the part of the field that the defense has the most amount of territory to cover, right? So just from a statistical, mathematical equation, there are more hits to be had in the middle of the field, right? So when you're pulling the ball, you are not using the biggest part of the field, so you are not going to get as many hits. So what if I were to tell you from a statistical, analytical perspective, which you're so great at, 69.2, how do you justify that there is actually a improvement coming from him?
Yeah, no, that's a really good find, and that is something that we're seeing a lot, and verifying with some of the numbers that we're seeing. The pull percentage is that I think that can work if you're Shohei Ohtani and you're elevating the baseball, in which case the baseball is going and you have some of that pull for home runs. Right now, Shohei Ohtani's fly ball percentage is about 13 to 15% lower than what his normal fly ball percentage is. So he's
pulling the ball and not hitting it in the air.
Yes, his ground ball percentage is very similar to the same, which actually I'd be curious to see some of his hard contact, if a lot of that is coming from just some of the ground balls that he's hitting. He is hitting a lot more line drives, which actually line drives
38.5% hard contact.
Yeah, which a lot of his line drives are actually have the highest expected batting average than ground balls or fly balls. I think right now he's just not pulling and elevating to the level that he needs to. I still think a lot of the quality of contact is there, and I think with the expected WOBA, some of the calculations that they have, because they take a lot of things into consideration because of the capabilities of Baseball Savant, I think there's still reason to believe that Shohei Ohtani is going to be a good player. I think this can be an abnormality that we're seeing with the pull percentage being so incredibly high above his normal percentage.
But it's also an explanation. It's an explanation.
It can be an explanation, especially if he's not elevating the baseball to the level that he needs to. And if he's hitting,
even if he was, he'd have a few more home runs, but his average would still not be as good.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yeah. So it certainly is interesting to dig into the numbers, because especially even if you just take into account not even Baseball Savant, but if you look at Fangraphs and a lot of the numbers that they have, you can go ahead and do a very deep dive into each one of these guys, which there's so much data and so much information. That is the revolution of the game of baseball, is the dependency and reliability and the innovative nature of a lot of these statistical outputs that have, I believe, improved a lot of the analytical understanding of the game of baseball.
Yes.
Other people might disagree.
Understanding's a great way to put it.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then it's about implementing them in the best possible way and equipping your players with the best possible tools to make them as good as they possibly can. That's what I think the data revolution in the game of baseball is all about.
As long as people understand that it is completely different for every single different player. Don't try to pin each player into, hey, we want every player to have this fly ball percentage, this line drive percentage, this pull percentage, this strike. Don't try to pin and pull every single player into that same pigeonhole. Every player, don't try to feed every player with the exact same amount of analytical data. Not every player can analyze it like that. Some players just need to go up there and react and not think and just be athletic, right? So it has to be, it's like everything else. It has to be formulated for each player. So we had a question, does he need to cut down on his swing a little bit? So Austin, you hit on it. You want your fly balls to go to the pull side, right? So all the fly balls you hit in the air, you want to pull them, because that's where your home runs are at. Okay, that's where the power's at. That's where the Hall of Fame is, pull side fly balls, because that's where you hit home runs. But then you want all your line drives to go up the middle, because that's where all the base hits are at. So if you can have a hitter that can pull the ball in the air, but then hit hard ground balls and line drives to the gaps from left center to right center, that's the hitter that can both hit 35 home runs and hit above 300, right? So right now you have the exact opposite with Ohtani, in the sense that his pull side hits are ground balls, okay, and then his hits up the middle are fly balls and not line drives. He has it exactly backwards right now. So what he has to do is he has to get back into a swing path that gets the ball in the air when he's pulling the ball. So when you pull off like he's doing right now, okay, that's whenever you roll over the ball, and that's why he's hitting a lot of ground balls to the pull side. So he needs to stay through. If he thinks left center, that's going to keep him through the ball, and if he's a little bit early, then he's going to pull that ball in the air and hit a home run. If he's right on target, he's going to hit a line drive to left center. So when you see Shohei Ohtani starting to hit those line drives that are like 3 feet over the shortstop's head and still rising as they hit the outfield wall into left center, that's when you know the pull side home runs are getting ready to come, and he's getting ready to hit for a high average and also start hitting home runs. He's got to start hitting the ball to left center, thinking left center to right center, just like Coach Holt was talking about on the show the other day. And he's good enough to do it. Right now he's antsy. He's pulling off the ball. He's trying to hit everything as hard as he can. He will get into that groove.
Oh yeah, and you'll see Shohei Ohtani hit home runs to left center and to right center, not just for base hits, but also with that power that he has. As soon as he finds his swing, as soon as he's able to make those adjustments, I have no doubt that he'll be able to find his groove. A lot of the numbers that we're seeing indicate some sort of bounce back, some sort of rebound. Yeah. There are adjustments that he has to make. I have no doubt that the professional player in nature that Shohei Ohtani has and plays with will rebound, and he will be the player that the Dodgers are paying $700 million to get.
Hey, Yang Yi checked in. Thank you so much for checking in, Yang Yi. And we're going to end with this. And the question is, why didn't the Dodgers bring up Vargas if they trusted him so much and played him in left field in spring training? So why didn't they bring up Vargas? Why didn't they bring up Andy Pages? I personally agree with both of those situations because, A, it's short term. So here's what's going to happen. This happened to Johnny DeLuca last year. You're going to have 2 or 3 days of travel both ways. So you're going to lose 4 or 5 days just to travel, right? Then you're not going to play in every game. So you're probably going to play three. You're going to be on the team for 3 games, get maybe 5 at bats in 3 days, add, say, 5 days of travel. That's 8 days where a guy's going to get 3 at bats. Andy Pages can't go 8 days with only 3 at bats right now because, as you mentioned earlier, he didn't have any AAA. He didn't have any at bats at all after about, early June last year when he made it up to AAA. Yeah. So he's just now getting into the volume at bats that he needs. So you can't take those at bats away from Andy Pages. Miguel Vargas is just now starting to hit his stride offensively. He's just now getting comfortable in left field. The last thing you want to do with Miguel Vargas is disconnect that momentum by traveling him to L.A., only giving him 3 at bats in 8 days, and now all of a sudden we're right back to the Miguel Vargas we were at the end of last year. They are 1,000% making the correct decisions on Andy Pages and Miguel Vargas. The one that's getting screwed, and I promise I won't go off on it, but the one that should be on the roster for the Major League team, it should not be Taylor Trammell. It should be Drew Avens, and he should go up there for 3 games, get DFA'd, and see if any other club would pick him up. So I think we're going to end the show on that with your final comments on that.
Well, I will provide an update because the Dodgers start here in about half an hour or so against the San Francisco Giants. Right now, the Oklahoma City Baseball Club, the AAA affiliate of the Dodgers, is playing right now. And as for aforementioned, Drew Avens, who you have just been talking about, has a double and a triple tonight, as well as some other players. Andy Pages just had a double, same with a Miguel Vargas. Hunter Fiducia has a home run. Kyle Hurt pitched surprisingly just 2 innings tonight, had 5 strikeouts, and gave up 1 run tonight, which seems to be kind of in that shorter outing type setting that they might be keeping him in. I don't know exactly what the plan is for him. Oklahoma City's baseball club is up 6-2 right now. They are currently in the top of the 6th inning in the old Bricktown ballpark. So it was a fun show tonight. Had some good interaction with some of the crowd. Got some conversation. Dodgers are seemingly continually making moves. We saw Nabil Crismatt. We've seen a Dinelson Lamet. We've seen a Taylor Trammell. We've seen with a Nick Ramirez as well, left-handed pitcher that they brought in who is on their 40-man roster, veteran type player. They seem to be making a lot of moves. One thing that doesn't seem to have changed right now is the Dodgers have a good baseball club and they're going to win a lot of games. And right now they are 6-2, hopefully going on 7-2 with a sweep against the San Francisco Giants before they make their way to the Windy City to play the Chicago Cubs and old friend Michael Busch.
Absolutely. It's a great day to be a Dodger. Go Dodgers. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Beat the Giants.